Okay, so I have some presentations that are about recovery, but it's not directly the 12-step program. It is other counseling methods, other awarenesses and awakenings that I have had that allow me to improve the quality of my life, and I'm hoping that you'll take something away from it that is helpful to you. So one of the things I realized by working in treatment centers is that most people who come into treatment, that they're dealing with anxiety, depression, aggression towards themselves or others, so self-harm and addiction. And that what preceded that was some sort of a traumatic event. And a traumatic event is a loss of some sort. So the loss could be the loss of your free will or self-control, feeling like you were trying to get your life to go in one direction, you had a plan, that plan ended up not working out, and you no longer feel like you have the self-control to run your own life. That your free will has been taken from you. So that's a big loss. Physical or sexual abuse is a very traumatic event, and there's losses as a result of that. Being bullied, going through divorce, or your parents going through divorce when you're a child. Huge trauma, huge losses. The loss of a loved one in other ways, like maybe death, abandonment, or just feeling like you're not wanted when you're a child. Those are very traumatic things to have happen in one's life. As a result, a person may feel anxiety, depression, or move into these other behaviors. That it's important to understand what each of these are. Anxiety is a loss of security, and so your struggle to survive kicks in, and you may go into a panic. Depression is a loss of hope, so you surrender your survival instinct and submit to that things are not going to get better and you've lost all hope. Aggression is a loss of values, so you may be willing to take power from others and become a violator. That you might have started with values that said, I am loving and caring towards other people, I would never do anything to harm someone else, and then because of the traumatic event and your own losses and not recovering that loss, that you have moved to where you're giving up those values and you switch to other values that say, I'm going to do whatever is going to benefit me and not care about how that affects other people. Self-harm, that a person may go into using drugs, alcohol, other addictions. They may cut themselves. These are all self-harming and addiction things. That behaviors, settling for temporary relief with re-traumatizing cycle where you're both the violator and the victim. A relapse is the obsessive compulsive behavior or the law of diminishing returns, that you go back to your addiction, so you may pull out of it temporarily but then relapse back into it where you're obsessively thinking about it, you're compulsively doing it. So whether that's cutting yourself or other suicide attempts, drugs, alcohol, and relationships, we call that taking hostages. You look for people who are going to enable you because they love you and care about you, and you take advantage of them and you use them to support your lifestyle. So I have a poster that tells a story in a picture that is similar to what I just went through in words. So let's imagine that I live in California, I own a small boat, and a couple times a week I take a ride out in my boat. And I didn't check the weather on this particular day. It didn't look too bad when I left, but after being out for a couple of hours, being far away from shore, that a big storm came in and the seas became very rocky and it ended up sinking my boat. So my boat sank, and that's my security. So right now I'm feeling anxious because, as I said, anxiety is a loss of security. I went out, I was in my boat, I was secure. When my boat sank, I lost my security, And so now I'm in a panic and I'm struggling to survive. And so I'm just treading water. I can't continue to do that for too long because I'm just going to burn up all the energy I've got and I'm going to sink. So after a while, I start to feel like this is a hopeless situation. I'm going to burn up my energy and sink. I need to do something different. So I roll over on my back and I float. And that conserves my energy. So it keeps me from losing my hope too fast. But basically, if I'm out there for hours or maybe even days, that I'm going to continue to lose hope. And so the loss of hope is depression. That bit by bit, I'm surrendering to the idea that I'm not going to make it, that chances are that because of the storm, no one's going to come out here and save me, and that I probably will eventually not be able to stay afloat and I will sink. And so I might even get to the point where I could stay afloat for a little while longer, but I decide that the best thing is to just get it over with. So that's losing hope in step by step until I get to the point where I'm willing to just end my life in order to get it over with now. But I also have a survival instinct that says, no, you're not going to do that. You need to do everything you can to last as long as you can. Maybe something better will come along in 10 minutes from now or an hour from now. So if you can make it another hour, you don't know what's going to happen in an hour from now. You're going to survive. You're going to make it as long as you can. But eventually what happens is I decide that I'm not going to just tread water. I'm not just going to float. I'm going to do something. I may not last but another hour, but I'm going to spend that hour swimming. And I seem to think that shore is back in this direction, so I start swimming. And eventually I come to a buoy. And so I go over and I grab a hold of that buoy. And as soon as I grab that buoy, I have a new sense of hope that I'm going to be okay, I'm going to make it. And I have a new sense of security. I can hold on to this buoy a lot longer than I can float and tread water. So I could last here for days and I'll be okay. And eventually a boat will come out here, because if there's a buoy out here, there must be boat traffic that comes out this way. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this buoy and know that I will be all right. So as I'm holding on to that buoy, let's suppose that no boats come out for days and I'm still holding on to that buoy 2 days later. So what ends up happening is I start to lose my security, I start to lose my hope, and I'm back to being anxious and depressed. So I decide I'm just going to end it, just as I had gotten to that point before when I was out floating. I decided I'm just going to get it over with now, because it's not going to get any better, and I'm just going to be sitting out here for another 2 days and I'm going to get it over with. So I swim down under the buoy, following the chain down. But as I'm under there, my survival instincts kick in and tell me, no, 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 head back up. So I go back up, and when I grab that buoy, I have a sense of hope and security again, just like I did when I first found it. So I'm out there for another few hours and I'm starting to fade in my hope and security, and I realize, hey, you know what? When I swam down and came up, when I grabbed the buoy again, I had a whole new sense of hope and security. That's what I need to do. That'll keep me going. So I swim down and under, I come back up, and it works again. Not quite as much as it did the first time, but it does work. So as time passes, I keep every few hours I end up doing that. Well, after a while I realize it's not really doing me any good, because I know I can swim down so far and come back up that I'm not really risking my life. My survival instinct doesn't really kick in. I don't feel hope and security when I come up and grab the buoy again. So I realize I'm going to have to go deeper, and I'm going to have to go more often. And so I keep going deeper each time, and before you know it, I'm going every hour instead of every day. I'm now doing it every hour. And I'm going deeper each time so that I get the feeling. That's the law of diminishing returns. That's the addiction cycle, whether the addiction is to cutting myself or taking pills and drugs and things to make me feel the sense of hope and security and escape the feeling of hopelessness and insecurity that I had before. I can keep on doing this, but it's an addictive cycle. And again, I have to then take deeper cuts at myself, where at first I was scratching myself. Now I'm actually laying the skin open. Next, I'm laying the skin open badly enough that I actually could die from it and I have to go get stitches in order to fix it. When my sense of survival instinct kicks in, I go, oh my gosh, I could die, and I call for emergency services and go and get stitched up, go into a hospital, try and get care. So once again, that each of these is the anxiety, the depression, and then the addictive cycle of self-harm or harming others if there were others around to harm. If someone swam up to me when I was in this position and my survival instinct is telling me I have to do whatever I have to do to survive, I would probably climb on that person and they would drown. That's not because I was a bad person when I was in my boat and I came out here. That's because I'm in a situation in which I've given up the values of caring about anybody else and I'm needing to survive, and my survival instinct is telling me to only care about myself. In post-traumatic stress, I can get stuck in that even after I get out of this situation and I'm back on shore someday. I could still be living as if my survival instincts are continuing to tell me my life is in danger, I don't have security, I don't have hope, and I don't have the ability to live according to values of caring about other people. So sometimes we run into people that we're going, I know that person went through a traumatic event, but that was a year ago, or that was 5 years ago, and they're still acting and treating me as if they have no security, they have no hope, and they don't have any values of they're willing to treat me with any kind of respect. So why is that when they're not really in danger anymore? And it's like their survival instincts have still stayed, at that same level because they have post-traumatic stress. So, again, post-traumatic stress is that, again, you have a loss, and instead of recovering from that and getting back what you lost, you are stuck in it. So that leads me to, what is recovery? Recovery is the resiliency to recreate security, hope, self-control, and free will to live a life of value with values such as safety, honesty, respect, and responsibility, using your strength to help others through their adversities. So that's where at some point I stop doing this thing with the life buoy where I go down and back up and I say, you know what, it's time for me to start swimming again. I need to do something different here. And I swim towards shore, and here I am headed towards the shore. When I get to the shore, I truly have security and hope, and I can live my life according to values of being caring and loving and respectful of other people, because I'm actually on land. I'm not holding onto a buoy where that's going to fade in a day or an hour. And hopefully I regain what it is I've lost. Recovery is getting back what you've lost. So if I've lost my security, I need to find something that will bring security back into my life. If I've lost hope, I need to find a way of bringing hope back into my life. And if I've changed my values to fit survival instincts and not caring about anybody but myself, I need to change my values so that I care about other people as well as I care about myself. And that I want everyone to benefit by being around me as opposed to just me benefiting by being around them because I'm taking from them. So I want to give back. So if I'm on land for a period of time, I turn my life around, I have recovery, I end up buying myself a new boat, but it's a bigger one that's safer, and I go back out that way. And whenever I find people that are out there who are insecure and hopeless and have lost their values and are stuck in addiction and self-harm and harming others, I can throw a life preserver out to them, because I know from when I was out there, if someone jumped out of their boat and swam up to me, I would probably drown them, not because I want to drown them, but because I want to get my head above water so that I can breathe. And so I throw a preserver out, I pull them over, I help them up into the boat where they have a new sense of security and hope, and I take them back to land where they can hopefully carry on with their life and recover from this traumatic event that they've been through, just as I did. So once again, sometimes people get post-traumatic stress disorder and they get stuck in feeling like that was such a traumatic experience, I never want to have that again, so I'm going to just always stay in survival mode. And I try to find those people when I can, not only out in the water but walking on land, and help them to see that they don't have to be in survival mode anymore, that what happened was a while ago, that they can actually recover what they've lost. So And again, that's what recovery really is. Recovery really is getting back what you've lost or getting what you were supposed to have in the first place.